All right. Good morning, everybody. Uh, I want to say I see Stryker has first blood, but I see that he's replying saying good morning, Cindy. So I assume she had a comment first. So to be clear, guys, in the future, just in case, and I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but I don't actually get to see your comments until we go live. So first blood is whoever I see first, not whoever actually comments first. But good morning, y'all. So I wanna touch something real quick before we get into some gun related stuff. Just something I was thinking about this morning. Old war fighter walking around in the desert with a big old backpack on. My knees aren't great, and when the weather fluctuates, especially, they hurt extra much. And but get up and walk around a little bit, they do better. So y'all let me know, and I'm gonna post the link if y'all want to go look at it if you haven't already. But so there's the link, but I'm looking at one of these. So if any of you guys have ever used one of these, the little under the desk elliptical machine, um, have any thoughts or opinions on that? Leave me a comment or send me a message about it. Let me know what you think of those, because I'm seriously thinking about grabbing one, just hoping that just getting my knees working when I'm sitting at the desk working. Kind of curb a little bit of that pain, maybe save me a few bucks on Ranger candy. Uh, Not that I actually eat a lot of it, but boy, sometimes you just want to. So it is Firearms Friday. I do have some DGUs pulled up for you today. It's going to be a shorter one today as well. I'm taking the kids out to a nerd store in Augusta today. We're gonna go eat lunch and play. I would prefer to play some Magic the Gathering, but my boy's 9, so I might end up on some Pokemon. But we'll see what happens. It's a big homeschool group that meets out there, so mostly I need my nerd kids to have nerd friends because I want them to stay nerds and not turn into whatever that trash is on the other side, right? So, but before we get to DGUs, let's start with this. Oh, that's weird. It was supposed to switch over and show this. There we go. So, federal court declares machine gun ban unconstitutional. This article is from yesterday, I believe. And this is out of the firearmsblog.com. In a major ruling out of the Southern District of Mississippi, Judge Carlton Reeves has struck down the federal machine gun ban as unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. Now, clarification. Let me be clear. This might create the precedence for you to make an argument, but this does not just outright abolish the admittedly clearly unconstitutional ban on machine guns, right? We touched on this a little bit last week on the show where Alex brought up that, in the state of Georgia, you have to have a license to carry a knife that's bigger than 12 inches, which on the one hand, you think, okay, who's carrying around a knife that's a foot long on the day-to-day? But on the other hand, the correct answer is fuck you. It's none of your business. It is none of your damn business, right? The Constitution is very clear. The Second Amendment is very clear. Shall not be infringed, right? Because, okay, you get the lefty arguments. Oh, but you have to be part of the militia. Okay. How about this, dickhead? And I use that term, advisedly, because I'm going to refer you to the Dick Act, right? Do you know what the militia is? It is every able-bodied man. That's the militia, right? You have the army, you have the formal military, and then you have the unorganized militia, which is the rest of us, whether you're a veteran or not. And it's an apocryphal quote, I believe, but you've got the old Japanese general that said you've awakened the sleeping giant, whatever, and the sentiment being that you cannot invade the United States because there is a gun behind every blade of grass, right? So we've talked a lot this week about all the stuff out of U.S. aid and how it apparently the U.S. government has been just directly funding propaganda machines like Politico, the New York Times, Reuters, the Associated Press, the BBC, etc. And they are all quick to jump on every incident they can to demand more gun control. So this other piece has not yet been a part of that conversation, but it is going to be a part of that conversation going forward in the near future, right? It is the DNC, it is the DNP, the Democratic National Party, that has been the kind of the forefront, the greatest beneficiaries of that money laundering campaign, of those several money laundering campaigns, right? And it is their agenda that has been pushed. But there's another piece of that equation that I want you to remember. One of the big reasons that the Hunter Biden laptop story was such a big deal, right? You heard the arguments from the left about it. First it was, oh, well, it's Russian misinformation. Okay, no, it's actually real, but who cares? Because all it is a bunch of home videos of Hunter doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing, like, and then you get the pushbacks like, whoa. It's one thing for a grown man to be doing a bunch of stuff he ought not to be doing, but he's doing a bunch of stuff in there that he ought not to be doing with young girls in China. And then it's whoa. Hunter's drugs, Hunter's prostitutes, Hunter's apparent child trafficking is entirely beside the point when the evidence on the laptop shows deep financial and political connections to the Chinese Communist Party being laundered through Hunter to the Biden administration while it was still in power. And we have legitimate evidence that goes for the entire Democrat Party. What does American Pravda, what does American propaganda have to do with the Second Amendment? It is the Chinese Party. It is the Chinese Communist Party, right? You ask yourself the question, qui bono, who benefits, who profits? Who but the Chinese Communist Party that understands you cannot launch a land war in America because there's a blade, there's a blade, and there's a gun behind every blade of grass. Qui bono? All of America's foreign adversaries who know that they cannot land on the United States because you put boots on the ground in the U.S., and the U.S. military is the least of your worries. Y'all, it's like I've explained before. One of the reasons, in fact, the primary reason that the U.S. Army is feared around the world, it's not the technology. It's not the superior training. It's definitely not the superior numbers. All of those things are good. All of those things are powerful and well respected. But the reason that foreign adversaries do not want to meet American soldiers on the field of battle is because we are more than good at what we do. We love it. You start marching a bunch of blue helmets down the street of some small country town in anywhere in the United States, especially in the deep South, right? Or in flyover farm country. You start marching a bunch of blue hard hats down the street, and buddy, roof Koreans will be sitting back and saying, damn, because you know what? Bud Light cans are blue. We're real good at shooting those. Right? So, the whole point to the Second Amendment is it's not about sporting, it's not about hunting, right? And we like to remind our government that part of the point, that an important part of the point, is to prepare so that the American people are armed sufficiently to resist and abolish their own government when that government becomes destructive to the ends and means of liberty and prosperity for the American people. But it's not just for us to keep a check and balance on our own government. We also are called by the spirit of the American people, by the spirit of the American experiment, to be prepared to repel the barbarian hordes when they come to the gate. Right? When Hannibal is at the gate, you don't send out human sacrifices. You go for hearts and minds. Full on Mozambique bitch. Right? I know that sounds like a Pokemon, and if it would be my favorite Pokemon. But I want you to be happy about this. I want you to get excited about this, but don't get too excited. You can't just run out to the local FFL and pick yourself a 249 or a 240 Bravo, right? Right? These are still just props. That's that particular bullet hose. It may put out 1,000 rounds a minute, but those rounds are plastic 6mm BBs. Now don't get it twisted. just a little bit of modification and stitch a bitch with that. But they're still toys. You can't just run out to the FFL and pick up a new machine gun yet. And if you happen to have one that was lost in a fishing accident some time ago, it may still not be the time to just pull it out in the backyard, unless you're where I am and there's just no neighbors or cops. But that's a different thing. But this is a step in the right direction, right? We're already at more than 50% of the states are constitutional carry by definition. We're moving in the right direction there. In a major ruling out of the South District of Mississippi, Judge Carlton Reeves has struck down the federal machine gun ban as unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. The case, United States v. Brown, follows the framework established by the Supreme Court in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin. I had a moment there. I read that. I was like, v. Brown? That's not. Oh, it's okay. Different case. Excuse me. Which requires gun laws to be justified by historical tradition. And please believe, if you get back before, 1986? The historical tradition of the United States of America includes machine guns, right? What if I wanted a cannon? Well, you might need a cannon to deal with pirates because this is America and don't fuck with my boats, right? Yo, for real, guys, go watch some The Fat Electrician telling old war stories about why it's a bad idea to mess with America's boats. that beautiful old song that the Marine Corps sings, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. That's oh man. One manly tear in respect for Decatur and the rest. Those boys knew how to solve a problem. As someone who has appeared before Judge Reeves most recently in the Jones Group of Mississippi LLC v. Zurich American Insurance Company, number blah, 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 I can attest that he is a fair and methodical judge. What makes this ruling particularly noteworthy is that while he ultimately found the law unconstitutional, he openly expressed skepticism about the Bruin framework. Nevertheless, he followed the Supreme Court's ruling as written and determined that the government failed to meet its burden of proving that Section 922 is consistent with the nation's historical firearms regulation. The court's reasoning in United States v. Brown, the defendant, Justin Bryce Brown, was charged with unlawful possession of a machine gun under 18 U.S.C. 922. His argument was that under Bruin, the statute is unconstitutional as applied to him. And that said, it should be that the statute is unconstitutional, period, without relevance to who it's applied to. Remember, shall not be infringed. You cannot put anything near the constitutional protection of firearms. Government response was predictable. It argued that machine guns fall under the Heller established category of dangerous and unusual weapons. Okay. Heller. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tag Heller real quick and then back off this article and get us to some DGUs because this is a very long article. But I want to tag Heller real quick as part of this conversation. Heller was a win. It was. That doesn't mean Heller was perfect. Heller v. DC, right? Here's the thing. In Heller v. DC, the conservative opinion, the ruling opinion, still held that it was constitutionally reasonable and tolerable to regulate which firearms the public can own. The question that was really being asked was, is there a right to keep and bear arms? The dissenting opinion was not that it's okay for states to regulate who keeps and bears arms. The dissenting opinion was not that it is constitutionally acceptable for states to require licensure, right? The dissenting opinion was not even that there are certain people who, because they've committed felonies or whatever, have had themselves disqualified. No. The ruling opinion was there is a right to keep and bear arms that belongs to the individual citizen. The dissenting opinion, the opinion of the liberal justices in that case, was that there is no right to keep and bear arms. The liberals on the court in the Heller case were arguing that the Second Amendment does not exist, that no one can own any firearm of any kind for any reason whatsoever unless they are a member of the Uniformed Armed Services or a member of professional law enforcement. They were going so far as to begin arguing that private security companies could not exist because only government employees could be allowed to carry firearms. So, and Cameron says, always take an ugly W over a pretty L. Almost always. And I'm going to say 99% of the time, I'm going to agree with that. And Heller is worth, Heller is worth paying attention to because of that important distinction. But let's not get confused here. Scalia was a brilliant jurist, but he still maintained that it was reasonable for regulations to exist, like no sawed-off shotguns, no machine guns, this, that, and the other thing. Which, that right there, it's not just an infringement of your rights on its own. It dilutes the authority and the protection and the veracity of the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. If the Supreme Court, if even the most staunch conservative, strict constructionist constitutionalists can say, well, it's okay to infringe it in this way, then they've just argued that shall not be infringed means something other than shall not be infringed. That is not an argument. That is not a belief or an understanding that an intelligent person arrives at rationally. A person who argues that the Second Amendment means anything other than all gun laws are offensive and abhorrent to the Constitution is either bad at English or lying, because they're making an emotional argument, right? Well, the Second Amendment is super important, but we don't want kids running around with machine guns out there. Then raise them better, right? The law is a powerful and important tool, but it cannot obviate your responsibility as a parent. That's not an option. Okay, so machine guns may be coming back. Here's hoping. They'll be expensive when they're first available. I mean, go try to put your hands on one of those right now. Like, again, obviously props. That's why I left the orange tips on some of them. But something like a 240 Bravo. Even if you want to spend the $20,000 to put your hands on one, my friend, that's an expensive grocery bill. Cost you a solid 12 or 15 bucks a minute. No, closer to 40 or 50 bucks a minute to feed that riffle. So let's move on. High Point police determined deadly shooting was justified self-defense. High Point, North Carolina, published February 6th. Okay, so this is recent and not too far away. Police in High Point, North Carolina have determined that a fatal shooting inside a home last month was a case of self-defense, meaning no charges will be filed. The incident occurred just after midnight on January 11th when officers responded to reports of an assault with a deadly weapon at a residence on Colony Drive. Inside, 4 individuals were present when gunfire erupted. Investigators confirmed that multiple shots were fired, leaving 20-year-old Brandon Harris Jr. dead at the scene and 2 others injured. Okay, let me say a little bit on the idea of charges being filed. This is a big difference between living in a decent state and living somewhere like California. And it's one of the reasons that gun laws are such an abhorrent affront to morality. We've talked about the abuse of the justice system by corrupt officers and malicious police officers with the idea that you could beat the charges. You may beat the charges, but you can't beat the ride, right? So you might have a cop shove you and walking, and he bumps into you, and you might even be a little bit of an asshole to him, like, excuse you, and all of a sudden you find yourself under arrest for contempt of cop. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't broken the law. You didn't even use a wordy dirt. You were just aggravated that the officer's poor behavior, poor conduct was rude and inconvenienced you, right? You find yourself in contempt of cop. Now, it'll be written up as hopefully in a circumstance like that, he doesn't go so far as to try and charge you with assault or something like that. But it'll be written up as something like interfering with official duties, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you get into a courtroom and the charges are dropped. Okay, charges are dropped. No harm, no foul, right? No. I was thrown into the back of a police car. I had hours, if not days of my time absolutely stripped away from me without remuneration. May have spent a night or two in jail waiting for arraignment, et cetera, et cetera. And then, the judge looks at it and says, what the hell are you doing? Look, officer, you've got nothing here. I find no probable cause. Case dismissed. Sir, you're free to go. I'm free to go. No. You owe me. You owe me my time. Now take that a step further. You're sitting in your beanbag chair, naked, eating Cheetos, watching the Super Bowl because you just haven't gotten the memo yet. Some dude kicks open your front door, and you just happen to have your kitchen shotgun close enough at hand to respond. You see a rifle in his hand. You put him down. SpaghettiOs spilled all over the yard. You call the police. And then there's an investigation into whether or not it was justified. Now, so in this case, it says no charges will be filed. It was a case of self-defense. But let me back you up a little bit. The officers at the scene chose not to charge Zimmerman in the Zimmerman Trayvon Martin case. The investigating officers, the responding officers, looked at the scene and said, "There's no case here. This is clear-cut self-defense," right? And then Obama and his wingman got involved and made demands. And the prosecutor came in and looked at the case and he said, "No, I can't bring a case here. There's no way that a jury is going to find against Zimmerman. This is clear-cut self-defense." Fired the prosecutor, brought it and hired one that said that she'd be happy to prosecute the case despite the evidence being insufficient. Zimmerman gets dragged through the system. You may beat the charges, but you can't beat the ride. Same thing with the McMichaels, except that went even further, right? The administration just kept firing. They just kept firing prosecutors until they found a black female prosecutor who put her hand up and said, "Hey, I'd love to drive 4 hours away from my jurisdiction to the opposite side of Metro Atlanta and 2 hours past that so that I can hang some white boys." Went through, if memory serves, went through 5 or 6 prosecutors, all of whom said this was clear cut. This was Ahmaud Arbery died in the course of the commission of a crime when he attacked a pair of men who attempted to conduct a lawful citizen's arrest. That the evidence of that was so clear that the state of Georgia changed the laws on citizen's arrest, and the judge in the case instructed the jury to ignore the law on citizen's arrest only after the McMichaels had presented their case. You can beat the charges, but you can't beat the ride. And in that case, it went even that much further. So thank God for this guy. We're going to read the rest of the story real quick, but thank God for this guy's sake. No charges will be filed. God, no charges will be filed. Like, I didn't see if Rhodey's watching or not, but we got a buddy who his car was broken into at work, and he wasn't allowed to carry his firearm in the building at work. So he would leave his daily carry locked in the car, locked in the glove box. And while he was at work one day, somebody broke into his car and stole his gun. The police caught the criminal, arrested him, recovered the property, and then held it as evidence. It took him, if memory serves, it took him 6 or 7 years to get that gun back. That's my private property. So, that tangent went longer and further than I intended it to. I apologize, but this is important stuff that y'all need to understand. The incident occurred just after midnight on January 11th when officers responded to reports of assault with a deadly weapon at a residence on Colony Drive. Inside, 4 individuals were present when gunfire erupted. So, Investigators confirmed that multiple shots were fired, leaving 20-year-old Brandon Harris Jr. dead at the scene and 2 others injured. After a thorough investigation, the High Point Police Department concluded that the shooting was justified as an act of self-defense. Authorities have not disclosed further details on the events leading up to the gunfire, including who fired the fatal shots. This case highlights the complexities of self-defense laws. Okay, that's just fluff, though. So after all that tirade, there was only one more relevant paragraph, and the relevant paragraph is we have no more relevant information. Now, given that the investigators found that it was a case of self-defense, you know what? I'm not going to assume anything. This article is weak. That's a fail for you. That's a fail for you, Concealed Nation. You guys need to do better. Usually they do better. I hope I've got a couple more articles from Concealed Nation this morning. I hope they don't shit the bed again like that.
Max.
San Antonio
now, with the number of
shoots
different handguns that are coming out,
okay, now that's pretty clear cut.
Yet micro nines. I mean, we have a number of different ones. Of course,
that's pretty clear cut. According to the San Antonio Police Department, a man entered the barbershop in the
with
2000
11 rounds
block of Bass
over one
Road
round over
around
the
7:30 p.m., demanding wallets and purses while brandishing a firearm.
And
when one of the owners, the 26-year-old man, did not comply fast enough, the subject
and of course,
struck
it's
him
only
with
10
the
rounds.
firearm.
It's a little bit longer.
The armed robber then turned his attention to a 51-year-old
just
female
a great
co-owner,
gun, and this
pulling
is
out
probably
zip
the
ties,
least
possibly an
expensive of the
attempt to
bunch.
restrain her.
But just a great little Max 9.
No, he was going to reorganize her cable
distribution. We just did a review on this. So there's a number of different guns that are coming out.
He pulled out the zip ties because he saw that big screen and all that coax and HDMI hanging down, and he just couldn't take it.
It is the largest
his OCD,
of these,
he was going to go and
but
fix
it's
it.
definitely with the option of the regular Shield Plus. We're going to get more
So
in the
the armed
ballpark
robber,
to line up with these guns.
The male business
Now, the
owner
price
drew his
on the
own
Performance
firearm
Center
and
pistol
fired
starts
multiple
manufacturer
shots,
suggested
striking the
retail
suspect in the
at
chest.
$630, and then
Emergency
according to the
responders
different
transported the
features,
wounded
which is
suspect to a
including
local
the
hospital
optics
with
plate
life-threatening injuries.
with the crimson
Later,
trace,
the
red
Bexar
dot,
County Medical
or the
Examiner's
40
officer
barrels,
confirmed the
safety.
suspect
I mean, there's a
had
lot of
died.
different options you can choose from. And with the
Authorities
added round
stated that the
capacity,
business owner
and
had
yet
the legal
the
right
grip
to use
is
deadly
just
force in
slightly
self-defense,
larger. In
and
fact,
no
I
charges are
honestly
expected
prefer
to be
this
filed.
grip over the standard
This
Shield.
was San Antonio?
I think this is going to be a great
Yeah,
option
San Antonio,
and
Texas.
a real competitor in
So,
the Micro 9 double stack magazine lineup.
That
and you're getting
is the way you
Smith &
want to see
Wesson
one
quality.
go.
And again, we want to thank Smith & Wesson for sending the Performance Center Shield Plus.
That's the way you want
and
to see
also
one
to
go.
GetZone.com for putting all this together. That is our backup channel. If anything happens to us on YouTube, check us out
his
on
public duty.
GetZone.com. Guys, if you depend on a firearm for self-defense, it's really important that you don't go it alone. I've been a member of the USCCA, or the United States Concealed Carry Association, for over 4 years, and it really gives you peace of mind. The USCCA was founded to help you understand laws
in legal
and self-defense education.
And
they offer industry-leading training, and to me, one of the most important
$65,000
features is they offer self-defense liability insurance. They have 100% risk-free, money-back, bulletproof guarantee. I'll have an affiliate link down below in the description. And guys, when it comes to a self-defense situation with USCCA, you have a friend. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America.
A barbershop owner in
live
San
the
Antonio,
Republic.
Texas. Attempted robbery. If they don't say what the name of the barbershop was. If I can find the name of the barbershop, I'll try to send them a white hat. That'd be fantastic. Be Controversial says you can't hear me. What? Hey, let me get confirmation from somebody else. Be Controversial says y'all lost the mic. I don't see anything over here to suggest that's the
Shield
case.
Pro to the range.
So
now taking the Elite Performance. Now taking the Performance Springfield Armor Hill Cat in.
Oh dear. I don't know how that's
like
even
a recoil
possible.
spring. I think that. Okay.
Let me look at some stuff.
Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long Shield, and it's going to replace the Shield as of April.
Okay. What's going on here? What's going on?
I'll say it later. You get an optics ready
Page audio from somewhere.
I love dogs. Love dogs.
That should not be happening.
Stand a dog that just.
You know what, guys? I don't know that I can fix that. I don't know that I can fix that quickly or easily, or
I guess
how the
he's
hell
getting
it
back
started happening all of a
shooting
sudden.
and shooting and shooting.
So
the Smith & Wesson Performance Center, M&P, Shield Plus, that's a mouthful.
And somebody else is talking. Someone else is talking, you say. I don't see. You know what? I just closed something. Y'all let me know if you can. Okay, I think I just closed everything everywhere that somebody else could be talking on. Unless nope. Okay. Guys, I think I think the right thing to do. I said I was going to wrap this one up a little early anyway, and I only had one more DGU to cover, which I just closed. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. I'll say thanks for watching. Y'all be safe out there. It's the weekend. Super Bowl Sunday. Try not to get yourself too much trouble. Try not to drink too many of them cold beers. Personally, I'm not a Super Bowl guy. Right. I know a lot of you good Patriots out there are going to be boycotting the Super Bowl this weekend because, Alex says it's been the last 10 minutes. Well, I wish I'd have known. Damn. I apologize. Gotcha. Okay. And Be Controversial says, I got it. So, okay. I'm going to assume that the audio is working correctly now, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I know a lot of you guys are going to be boycotting the Super Bowl because of the whole Black National Anthem thing. Personally, I am not going to be boycotting the Super Bowl because of the whole Black National Anthem thing. I just don't watch it because I don't give a shit. But I will be eating a load of tacos. Going to have some battle buddies over here this weekend, and we're going to beat the kids with rubber sticks, and it's going to be a great, great weekend. Y'all be safe out there. Don't drive drink. Don't fry bacon naked. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, firearms, and videotape. No two at the same time. We love you, and we will see you on Monday. It was supposed to do the thing. Oh, there it is.